go.
Okay, so
Okay.
come on over here on this
Yep.
side, you folks.
Heavy part of the
So
training.
we'll start with this side row. So the side rows are the same on both sides, and all the controls here. So starting from the top, there's this little green key, and what that green key does is you have to hold that in to enable everything that's tied to the screen. So if you want to do trend, reverse trend, and chair, just push the button till the key lights up, and then you just have to hold the button for the function that you want. So Trendelenburg, reverse trend. This bed goes into trend and reverse trend regardless of the height of the bed. And then you have a chair button here, which just makes it easier to put into a chair position. Just hold the button in, and it goes into chair. You just keep holding it, and it goes. So this is not like a chair egress like the ICU beds do, but this is a really good chair position. And then you can use trend or reverse trend to adjust the angle of that, and to make it go back flat, just hold the button with the straight bed line on it, and it'll go back down again. You know what hang 10 is? You're too young, huh? Hang 10. So these are hang 10 feet. When I push this button, it'll make the bed longer. It's going to make the bed shorter. Now, what I noticed on this bed, and it may be because of how housekeeping likes to do it.
You didn't know that?
On the bottom of this bed, there's these little wings. And these little wings should be tucked into these straps here. So there's one on this side.
Oh.
And then you get the other one, and you tuck that into the other side. And what that does is when you stretch this bed and make it longer or shorter, it makes sure that the mattress expands with it.
Oh. We did not know that.
So hold the button in to make it go. The hang 10 feet, if you didn't know what it was because you're young. And then this will make it go back the other. So if you have to get it shorter to go through an elevator, which you guys don't have here,
Right.
to make the bed shorter or smaller. Also, you want to pull that in to kind of wrangle your patient in so that if you have foot drop, you can put something there and make the bed shorter.
Okay.
So if you notice the side rail configuration on this, you know, the side rails are here and there's an opening in here, and that's by design because if your patient is going to get off of the bed because you don't see them, we want them to scoot down to the bed and do an egress instead of going over the side rail and falling. So it's going to be closing here and open here, and that's by design.
Right.
Okay, so full chair we talked about, all the Trendelenburgs, the longer and shorter of the bed. This little picture of the lock here, if I push that in, hold on just a second. Okay, if I hold this key in and I push this lock, everything that lights up, it's gonna lock the function out from moving. So I hold the key in and I push it again, and it turns off all those functions. So if you have an aspiration risk patient, you put the head up to 30 degrees, I can actually lock the head out so that it doesn't get moved by a visitor or a family member, so you can make sure your patient's head is the same way. So hold the key in and then push either of those, and if it's lit, it's locked, and if it's unlit, it's not locked. Okay? Articulation, so head up, head down, knee up, knee down, and bed high, bed low. This tells you that the bed is not in the lowest position, which is going to be the safest position for the patient. So we want to try to get it down as low as much as possible. And this is going to give you the angle of the head indicator, and this is an angle of Trendelenburg indicator. Okay. So I'll just have this up high so that we can see this better.
Okay, and I know occasionally we've had this part get locked.
Yeah.
And then we had trouble getting it out. So I guess you would show us how you lock that.
If you're locking the function, you know, for this up and down, so you're gonna lock it here. So if that lock is on, this is not gonna work. So I hold this in, push the button, and then now it's gonna go.
Okay.
Right. So the lockouts will indicate here. So this is high, low, head up, foot down.
Okay.
Okay? All right, questions about that? Easy peasy. All right, on the scale module. So this module, if you didn't know, it flips up like this. Sometimes I go to the hospital like, it flips up.
Yeah.
So you don't have to go like this all the time.
Right.
So the scale's usually gonna stay blank, but when you wanna weigh the patient, you push and hold it, and it's gonna bring it back again. When you hold it, it goes into scale mode, it goes into calculate, and it's gonna weigh. Now, if you zero the bed with the patient on the bed, the only way to fix that, because it's gonna go negative, is to get the patient off the bed and re-zero it again. So try not to do that. Sometimes family members or visitors play with the bed and they accidentally zero the bed. But if you zero the bed with somebody in it, you gotta get them off and re-zero the bed again. So zero the bed, you just hold in the zero button, and it's gonna say, let it go, and it's gonna calculate. Make sure it's not touching the walls or anything, and then you're good to go. Okay?
Yeah.
Do you know that this bed has a turn assist for you guys? So it's not turn Q2, so it's not repositioning for tissue offloading. But if you have a patient that you're going to reposition, and you have to pull them up so that you can do cleaning of their body or whatever, If I want them to turn to the left, I can push this button here, and then it's going to be a subtle increase in pressure on one side. It's going to get the patient over. It's designed so that you get your draw sheet, and when it reaches the top of its inflation, so that you can pull them over easier, get them past the fulcrum point, but it doesn't hold them there. It's just going to stay there for a short period of time and go back, because when you have the patient up in that position, this side of the body is in a pretty high pressure environment, so you don't want to hold them there. So for turn Q2, it's not what it's intended for. It's to help you folks turn the patient, and it's going to let this shoulder drop, that shoulder up, so that you can pull them up without having to pull them up from being flat on the bed. Okay, and you just push that button to make it go, and then you have a turn for the other direction, and the one in the middle takes it back to centered again.
Okay.
There's a maximum inflate button here, and what maximum inflate button does is it's going to make the surface very firm. So if you're trying to reposition the patient, you can push the button, make the mattress very firm. Encourage your patient, if they can, to grab onto the side rails and help you with the process of pulling them up. And then when you push the button again, you have to push the middle one here to go back to the normal one, take it out of the max inflate mode. Question about that? All right. This little symbol here, so that's a scale, and that's how you weigh the patient. You have to just push it and weigh the patient. And this is the bed exit alarm. So this has a bed exit alarm. There's 3 modes. When you set the bed exit alarm, the patient has to be in the bed. They should be laying in the center of the bed. And the way that this works is once the patient is in there, you have to have all the side rails up, because that's the way this is configured. There's 3 different modes. There's this most sensitive mode here. It's going to alert when the patient lifts their head and their shoulders off the bed. So if you have a patient that you really want to know when they begin to stir, you set it for that mode. And when that patient lifts the head and shoulders up, it's going to give you an alarm. The second mode is going to be probably the one that you're going to use the most, and that one is going to let you know if the patient laying from the middle starts to move towards the side rail and starts to swing their leg towards the side rail to like they're going to get out of bed, and then you will get that alarm. And then this last one is the Houdini mode, so this is out of bed. If you have a fall risk patient, you don't want to use this one, because by the time it alerts you, they're already off the bed. So you want to use one of these other 2. They give you 3 different options, because we don't want to generate a lot of false alarms, because if there's a lot of false bed fall alarms, people stop coming. So you're going to be able to assess your patient and choose its correct level of surveillance. And like I said, this one here is for exiting. So if you have a patient that likes to scoot out and go have a smoke, and you guys don't know if you want to know if he's just leaving, that's a good way to use that one. But don't use it for fall risk, because it's not until their weight is off of the bed. Okay? Patient has to be in the bed for this to be set. It won't set with the patient's off the bed. Okay. Questions?
No.
Okay, cool. That means a new baby. Nice. Okay, these pedals here, have you guys tried those before?
Yeah.
So just, clean hands. You want to adjust the head section, you hold it down, and then you let it get set and armed, and then when you step on it, it's going to go. This section here, you see where the feet with the little thingy? So that is a motion interrupt sensor. So if the bed is going down, and I put my something here, it's going to stop the bed from going down. So if you come to the bed and the bed just goes down a little bit and back up again, a little bit back up again, check here to see if there's a sheet, if there's some tubing, if there's a blanket, if somebody's mo'opuna or something. It's just to make sure that this bed cannot go down and crush something or
those are
flip
the
the chair
sensor
out.
sites.
Yep.
There's 4.
All 4 here. So if I have my foot here, you see that flashing?
Right.
So if you come to the bed and see that flashing, that means that something could be hanging down there and it's going to stop the bed from going down. Okay. Brake and steer. So when I have this in neutral, the bed goes all 4 directions. It just moves around. When I'm transporting this bed, what I want to do is, let me see where this goes. Okay, I'm going to unplug this and cancel it. Cancel. Okay. All right. So when I'm transporting this bed, you want to have it in neutral to get out of the room, because that's going to give you the most mobility, okay? Once I get it out of the room and I'm in the hallway, let me get this power cord too, and I put it into the steer mode. So I push this pedal down. You see this wheel up in the front here? This wheel in the front is going to lock. So just that one's going to lock like this. So it's kind of like a wheelbarrow now. So when you're pushing it, that's the wheel that you're steering off of. So you don't want to do this in the room, because it's going to be difficult to maneuver to get out. But once you get out of the room, that's the pivot point. Now, if you have that wheel facing this way back, you're going that way. If you have this, if you're going to go that way with the bed, you want to make sure that this wheel is trailing. If you have it this way and you're going that way, the bed's gonna go all over the place. So make sure that this wheel is trailing, and then just put it in steer mode, and that's gonna help you make this bed go straight. Okay, questions about that? All right. You also wanna make sure that, so see this headboard? The handles on this thing are curved down like this because when it's straight, it kind of makes you want to leave your elbows up and push with your shoulders. When you have your bent like this, you can drop your arms on your side, and then you're using your body to get the weight of the bed to get the bed momentum. Okay. CPR release on this bed. I pull the lever here. It's going to bring the bed down flat. It'll put it into maximum inflate mode. And if you need a backboard, just take this off and you can use this. After you take this off, and it just goes back to the same one, it just drops in. Oops, wrong hose. Okay, when you look at this, 2 round posts, and you look down here, you're gonna see 1 round hole and 1 square hole. Although it looks like that's not where it goes into one round hole and 1 square hole. The reason we have the square hole is it's called engineering slop, and it's so that you don't have to go for like 10 minutes trying to hit the 2 little holes. So 1 square hole, 1 round hole, that's where it drops in. Okay. The surface on this bed, so the bed weight limit on this bed is 500 pounds. And the rule about that is, especially like in Hawaii where we may have folks closer to the earth that are not 500 pounds, but their girth is a lot. So if you put a patient on here, even though they're under 500 pounds, but if their girth is enough so that you can't reposition them for tissue, for preventing pressure sores or pulmonary reasons, it's not the correct bed for them. Even though it holds 500 and they're wedging, if you can't turn them, it's not gonna be the right one. So 500 pound weight capacity. This has a surface on it that's gonna help to prevent pressure sores, and you wanna have as few layers as possible on this bed. So there's some gas exchange in this bed, and if you have the sheet and the draw sheet and blanket, that's fine, but you don't wanna have too many layers because otherwise it impedes the surface's ability to protect the patient's skin. Okay, so manage your incontinence. Make sure you have a dry sheet, a sheet on this, my bottom sheet, and then your draw sheet and your blankets, but try not to have too many layers underneath next to the patient on the surface. Questions?
They keep asking for blanket.
Yeah, blanket on top is okay. Blanket underneath is not good.
They made a mess.
Yeah, so that, like I said, manage your incontinence, make sure your sheets are on there, but you don't want to put too many layers under the patient. Like if you guys use airflow chucks here, the kind that the air can pass through, or is it plastic back?
No, it's not a plastic.
Yeah. Most hospitals don't use the plastic back anymore. I do see it in some places, but you want to be able to have that gas exchange between the patient's skin so they don't macerate. Like I said, as few layers as possible. We have some white papers that show that the more layers you put in here, the less effective it is. So just try to, but like I said, obviously manage your incontinence because that's like really a chink in your workflow if you have to stop and do that every 15 minutes. Yeah. This pendant here is intended for the patient. And if they don't have the dexterity to manipulate this, they can use this to control their environment. You can clip it inside here or outside, it doesn't matter. That's about everything on this bed. Do you guys have any questions or things that you're not sure?
Sleep mode, if you can remind everybody about sleep mode.
Putting the surface into sleep mode.
I think it was the key.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was.
You press the key and the, let's see, it was some. It was 2 other things. Maybe the up and down. But you had to like press both of them at the same time.
Let me. I forget what it is for this, but I'll get that.
Or wait, no, I think it was something over here with the key and the 2 turning ones. Maybe that was it. Okay, so I think it's on sleep mode now.
How not to break the bed. That's what we're learning.
I'm not sure.
How'd you do it? What'd you do?
I did the key and then the 2 turn ones at the same time, but it just went off, so I'm not sure if it's in sleep mode or not. I know we had a paper on that one time.
I haven't done this. I haven't seen these beds in a long time.
Is that to keep the mattress from...
To keep the motor from running, when it drives people crazy. It was like for 8 hours, it would give them a break.
Okay, I'll know that in a second.
Yeah.
So that's a really good point. So you want to put it in sleep mode instead of unplugging it, because if you unplug it, the mattress is going to deflate and they'll be sitting in a hole in maybe like an hour. So you want to make sure you don't do that. I'll verify with the guy what
Okay.
I don't remember what that is.
Yeah.
So, anything else that you guys were having problems with this bed? So the transporting thing, you know, when you have that wheel, make sure that wheel is trailing. That's the most important part about transporting, is to make sure that it's going to go straight down the hallway. And then put it in neutral straight across when you're in the room. And then after you get out into the hallway, put it into the steer position. Because in steer position, it's hard to get out of the room. The new beds have a wheel in the center, so it pivots from the middle. So it's much easier to maneuver. But the old ones with the wheel in the end like a wheelbarrow, it's a little bit more difficult. You have to like go wide on the turns like a big truck, so that you don't hit the wall.
Tess, remember the day that bed was locked?
Yeah.
We couldn't get it to come up, we couldn't get it to unlock, like.
I
was
think it would have been
flashing.
something blocking the sensors.
Yeah.
So there's 4 sensors. See where the foot part is?
Yeah.
So
if there's
sometimes it's a blanket
there,
or a Foley
could be,
cord,
yeah,
any
something
little
over there,
cord.
and if you see that light flashing, it's not
Yeah,
gonna let
But we got the 4 spots, but
that beam actually goes right across the bottom there.
that's your clue.
That something's down there.
What about these 2 feet things right here?
The ones in the triangle,
Yeah,
that's the hang 10 feet, makes the
Oh,
bed
that's
shorter, makes the bed longer. Yep.
Oh,
that's the, okay, it looks a little different on some of the other beds. It's a different symbol.
Blackout forward. See that? It's getting short on that side. So anything, you see that green key?
Yeah.
Anything that green key has a little dotted line going to,
Mhm.
you have to have that green key lit for that function to work. So if you try to do it without pushing the green key, it's not gonna go. So long as that green key is illuminated, you can adjust it. Once the key goes out, you have to push it again. And it's just kind of a way to help to keep visitors from messing around with the bed. They eventually figure it out.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Anything else that you folks wanna know about this?
Nope.
Okay. Let me verify that. I really don't
Sleep
remember. I haven't seen Versacare beds in kind of a long
Yeah,
time.
okay.
But I'll verify that and make sure I give you the right sequence. for
All
it.
right, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.